A new Five Below opened up around me, and I was curious to see if they had anything new, and it turns out they definitely did. They had a lot more how to draw manga packs and books in general, which I'm always happy to see because then people have kind of like a kit to start out with. And as I was looking, I saw this pack right here, and thought to myself, I wonder if it's any good, so I bought it. So hi everyone, I'm Ward, and welcome to my channel Ward Draws a Lot, and today I want to test these 13-piece manga drawing sets from Five Below. The pack was $5, and it came in two different versions, the quote-unquote boy and girl versions, which I think it's supposed to allude to shonen, which is more geared towards boys, and shoujo, which is more geared towards girls, but realistically, these are just art markers. I don't think they even need to have that kind of label. What I did is I just bought both packs to kind of see what different colors they have inside, because they actually do have different colors for each pack. To make things easier for myself from here on, I'll be referencing this pack as the girl pack and the other pack as the boy pack. The packaging has this drawing of a girl in the front, which I'm very sure is in digital, not traditional art, which is kind of almost like what this is advertising. It says there are 13 pieces in total, and it has the colors lined up at the top. On the back, you have these drawings, which are, I'm almost 100% sure is not made with these markers. I don't even know if they asked the artist if they could put them on the back. That's just what I don't know. They probably could have, but you know, I would have no idea. It comes with 9 markers and 4 different kinds of pens. So it has the 8 marker set, a blender, 3 liners, and then a white gel pen for highlights. And 4 of the markers are brush tip, and the other 4 are chisel tip. The boy pack of markers also has the same kind of layout, where you have the drawing on the front, which is again I think digital, along with the saying of 13 count mangas, and then the line of what the colors look like at the top. Once you turn it around, you also have those images, which again I don't think are made with these markers. Especially because I've kind of seen them floating around online before, but you know, again, the company could have asked the artist and I just don't know. It also has the list of supplies on the back, just like the other one. So basically you get the same kind of pack but in different colors, and I'm kind of excited to see how the supplies look and if they work well at all. First thing I'm doing is opening up the girls pack, and I was surprised to actually see that there was a tray inside, kind of keeping the markers steady. Usually they're just kind of lined up in a box and then you can grab from the box, but this is nicer just for the sole fact that you could pull the tray out and leave it in front of you, and you don't have to keep opening the box back and forth when you want to get a supply, or just, you know, have them laid out everywhere, which is like also a messy option. From what you could tell here, you could see the 4 black barreled markers, which are the chisel tips, and the white barreled markers, which are the brush tips. Then you also have 3 liners and your white highlight pen. And once you go into the boy pack, you basically have the same thing. You open it up, the tray is there, and everything is lined up. You have your chisel tip, brush tip, also your liners and your white highlight pen, all nice and lined up and ready to go. Okay, now that we know what everything looks like, it's time to do one of the most important steps, which is swatching your colors and your liners. The chisel tip marker has a black barrel with 2 sides, one a chisel tip and a fine nib. You also have at the end of the marker the color name, number, and the color itself. The chisel tip side doesn't have a gray marking, and the chisel tip itself looks pretty thick and well, colorful. The other side has a gray line to distinguish that it is a fine tip, and the nib is actually fairly long, I'd like to say, so that's a nice little factor in there. Then for the brush marker, it's a white barrel this time. Just like the other one, it has at the top the color and the name, and along the sides it says the soft brush tip and the fine tip. The brush tip actually looked pretty nice. It reminded me of the brush markers from Five Below that I reviewed like last year. They looked like a pretty nice, you know, sturdy nib, and we'll see if that holds up later on. And for the bullet tip, just like the other marker, it is marked with a gray part so you could distinguish the two. First thing I do is go ahead and swatch the chisel tip markers. They came in a variety of colors for the entire pack. It was kind of like, you know, as I was watching them, I was like, how am I going to create some nice transitions with a lot of these colors, because they are so far off from each other. And I was like, man, it's kind of gonna be a struggle. Just for the sole fact with markers, you want a lot of transition tones, and that's why I thought, well, if I buy both packs, maybe it'll kind of help, you know, cushion where I need to blend in for my art. The next thing in the pack that I wanted to swatch and kind of go in depth into are the liners. So it did come with 2 different liners in this black barrel form. All of them say illustration marker, even the markers themselves. But for this liner, you had this side right here, which was a 0.25 tip. And it is also marked on that side, the 0.25 tip. And the same thing with the opposite side. It is marked with the brush tip label, and then also has the brush tip itself, which didn't look too bad. The other liner, which was the exact same shape as this one, it was basically the same thing, except it had a 0.5 nib this time, so if you wanted to do thicker line art, that was definitely an option. I know I like to do thick and thin line art in some areas sometimes, just to give the drawing a little bit more dimension or depth, or to make it look like a little bit more alive than the single liner like size. This is where I was immediately like, when I saw it, I was like, do I have hope for this? And when I opened up the cap, all hope disappeared. I saw that nib and I was like, damn, this is gonna be butt. This is gonna be straight up booty. And I know because it kind of held like that felt tip, and I'm like, for a white highlight pen? I don't know. Also, for some reason, there was another liner. I think there was way too many liners in this set, but this one was a 0.2 fine liner. So, of course, when I test it out, I'm going to see how it does. Now, both of the black barrel liners worked pretty alright. They felt like if you went too hard on the paper, though, it would start piling up. It just gave me that impression from use and from also previous experiences with liners like that. But I think truly you could do something with these 2 liners. But the disappointment here, really, was in the 0.2 liner. It was dry. It had nothing left in it. This is a brand new pack that I opened on camera for the first time, and this pen was already dead. It was like, don't even try me. And I was like, okay, I guess we have no other option but just to scrap up this pen. So it didn't make any sense to me that if I'm buying 13 pieces, why one of them don't work. So now this is a 12-piece manga pack. It ain't no 13-piece no more. I tried that white highlight pen, and I immediately was like, yo, bro, no, this isn't it. I thought maybe you had to pump it or something and get some ink out of it. Nope. And when I put it down at first, I was like, man, this is already disappointing. But I was like, wait, hold on, maybe it'll lighten up a little bit over time. And it did, like, just a smidge, the smallest smidge, but it would not work well on top of markers. It literally just, like, it was a little pathetic. I'm not gonna lie to you, but like, I'm not expecting anything huge or great for a $5 pack from Five Below, but you could get something better with those $5 when it comes to just a liner alone. But we'll see how everything goes when we kind of put it together. I will say this, when I was putting down the colors with these markers, they actually felt pretty nice. Now, a lot of the time with markers, if you start coloring, you're like, okay, they're kind of dry or something, but these felt pretty juicy for the most part. And on top of that, if you buy both packs instead of just the one, you get at least some kind of a range of colors and tones to kind of, you know, bounce off of each other when you're blending, because if you jump from one harsh color to the next when you're blending, it's going to look harsh in the end. So there's that. When it came to swatching the bottom part, it was going pretty fine, but I wanted to test that 0.2 liner again, and it was dry too. So both packs had a dry 0.2 liner, and that was very upsetting. I was like, wow, that kind of sucks. So for both packs that I bought, I only got technically 12 pieces out of each pack. So that was something I had to consider, like, when I was like, you know, drawing, because I'm like, yo, if I was a kid and I got this pack, I'd be mad disappointed that one of the liners don't even work. Now, I actually forgot to do a swatch test before I started coloring, and I can't believe I forgot that, because that's usually a very critical part for me whenever I'm doing something like this, is how do things blend. And with these swatches, you could tell that the blending is a little rough. Now, I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just me, right? So I took similar Copic tones just to try it out and see if the blending there goes a little bit better. And for the Copics, they did go just a little bit better. What it did was blend the two colors together, and you could see that there's a distinct difference more so with the two colors compared to the Five Below pack, which kind of mushed the colors around and changed them completely. Like, it almost over blended the colors, right? And I don't think it was me. So if it could have been me, then that's on my part, and I apologize. But for the most part, I've been using markers for a long time, and whenever I blend, I try and make sure I go back and forth evenly and all that stuff. But when it came to the Five Below markers, it kind of mixed the colors a little strangely and left little speckles and stuff. This is kind of what happened, I remember, last time when I used these markers from Five Below as well. So this is a common issue with me and these markers. Your experience might be different, but if I'm thinking of somebody who's using these markers for the first time, it might be a little bit more of a battle to try and figure out how to blend them than it would be for somebody who's been using markers for quite a few years. Okay, now for the real test. I went ahead and sketched this up off camera, and this is where, like, the markers either die or shine. And I think these markers would have done a little bit better if I had some more transition tones. I feel like when it came to blending, it wasn't bad, but there was something truly about these markers that, like, threw me off. And this is going to be a little bit difficult for me to explain, but I'm going to try and do so. So I think in every marker, right, you have your mixture of the marker ink and then the, I'm going to say alcohol ink, right? And let's just say that the alcohol ink is what makes it blend. I think that there's too much alcohol ink in the markers, and it breaks down these colors a little bit too much. You do want like a good ratio of alcohol ink to marker, just so this way it could blend out, right? So like, let's say Copics would be like 75% ink and then 25% alcohol blend, so you can mix them properly together without losing that color and diffusing it too much on the paper. These markers, I felt like, was almost like a 60-40, right? You had 60% alcohol ink, which is too much, and then 40% color, which is not enough. And I feel like that is why when you try and blend these markers together, they end up a little bit too blended, so it ends up kind of looking a little muddy. And that's kind of what you don't want when you're coloring, right? You don't want your colors to look muddy or weird, and that's kind of like a little discrepancy with these kinds of markers, because you'd want them to blend really nice, but they're kind of not doing that. Sorry. What I do suggest, though, is you do cell shading, which is laying the color on top of each other, and that's kind of what I did with the hair with light blending back and forth. I felt like that method worked a lot better when it came to using these markers, especially because the way they blend is not like what a normal marker blends with. And this kind of, like, for me is universal with a lot of markers. It's not just Copics that feel good when you use them. Ohuhus are a great example. Ohuhu markers feel fantastic when you use them. They have a good amount of blend, and the colors are very bright and vibrant. And the same thing with Prismacolors, and even like some of the cheap knockoffs, like 50-cent ones, the touch ones, whatever has touch in the name, even those work a little bit better than these do. And it kind of like, I want to say they're good enough for the price, because it's $5, right? And you're getting supposedly 13 pieces that work, but like, you're not getting that. And I feel like in Five Below itself, you could possibly have a better option to get these things, though. Like, if your budget is $5 or $10, you can get different packs that can suit those needs. You would get some marker packs that have way more transitions, or maybe some that have more brush nibs, or if they are just chisel nibs, at least you have a lot of colors. And you can get a pack of liners there too, so you have a pack of like maybe 20 something markers along with the liners that can do you good. This pack, you know, I understand completely. It's curated towards the idea of making manga. You have the markers and the liners and the white gel pen, and you have like everything you need right here. But realistically, you don't have everything you need right there. You have 8 colors, technically 9 markers because there's a colorless blender, which I feel like nobody uses unless you know how to use it. And you do have 3 liners, which one didn't even work for me, and the white gel pen, I'm using that term very loosely, gel pen, that doesn't work. So you basically are getting maybe 11 pieces, 10 pieces in this pack realistically, and it's just not a good pack. I'm just going to be completely frank with you here. It could be better. Maybe if they replaced one of the liners with a different marker, or maybe that white gel pen could go and you could just do markers and liners together, or maybe a higher quality gel pen, at least so you could feel like you're getting something with that. But there are just certain parts of this pack that I don't feel like are truly a good beginner kit. If they're like for kids, I'm talking about like young kids, maybe like 6, 7, 8, maybe then it could, work well. I personally don't suggest alcohol markers for anybody under the age of like 12, 13, just because you're inhaling alcohol ink. So, in my preference, after the age of 13, these markers in this marker set just would be it just wouldn't work great. You would have the magic of like, oh my gosh, I have a manga kit in front of me to make manga, but after you start using them, I would be disappointed. Like, I'm thinking back to myself, I'd be grateful that I even got something like this and it was available in a store for $5 and I could get it. But realistically, I would have wanted to get something that's worth way more bang for my buck, So I would highly suggest, instead of these, maybe like those fatter packs of markers with more markers inside, and a pack of liners that have you like a variety of liners, not just like the 2 or 3 here that one didn't even work, but like, like 0.5, 0.25, like there's a pack and you could work at least a little bit better with those. This pack is just kind of like, it's a little gimmicky to me, okay? And that's just genuinely what I feel. If you still want to try it and you want to see how it goes with you and if it works well, then by all means, go ahead and do that. But I truly feel like, as an artist and someone who's been doing art a long time and who wants to inspire others to do art, there are just so many better options for the same price range. Or if you want to go a little bit more expensive, you could do that too. Or you can get larger marker packs, huge marker packs, but you would have to pay more money. So it all depends on your wallet, your location, if you're able to get it, and are you able to save up. But overall, I really think that the better option would be to go for something a little bit better within the store. I hope you find something that works for you within the store or in any store and are able to create great art with it. So yeah, thanks for watching, and remember, I love you. Bye!